I want you to imagine yourself coming home from work or school. The doorway to your home might lead to an abode of isolation or of great splendor, yet such thoughts may not compare to the listlessness you feel after a long day's work. Will you resolve yourself to waste the night away, risking a weary morning, or fall into a deep slumber before your alarm eventually and suddenly awakens you? Either way, you'll start the same day over again with the same people, the same tasks, and the same dull thumb twiddling of boredom. Yet, despite the lethargy, a thought might have popped into your head. To watch an anime of sorts, one which would take away some of the melancholy from your current state. What better show to watch than an Iyashikei? Iyashikei, a Japanese term meaning healing, is used to describe anime or manga created with the specific purpose of having a healing or soothing effect on the audience. Even though many Iyashikei creations seem to have a strong escapist basis, the goal is not only to offer a means of getting away from daily worries, but to let the audience embrace a calming state of mind. By using relatability, Iyashikei succeeded in becoming the go-to genre for many people to watch when they want to relax. But how did it get to this point in the first place? Japan has some of the longest working hours in the world, and according to a government survey from 2016, nearly a quarter of companies require employees to work 80 hours of overtime a month. It is noted some feel guilty taking their paid leaves and will idly skip them in exchange for more work. It's easy to see that depression and many other things have supplanted themselves into the minds of these workers. This has created an easy market for such genres as Iyashikei and slice of life to succeed where others don't any longer. And while seemingly a pessimistic view of the genre's origins, Iyashikei doesn't have to be sold solely for its soothing value, rather for what it does with its narratives. I know Iyashikei might not seem like a beacon of incredible writing, but don't just assume it to be another cute girls doing cute things formula to sell to the lowest common denominator. In order to understand Iyashikei, you have to understand the importance of our own growth. It is for this reason why these shows are typically enjoyed by older audiences, because they get to relive some of the moments they can relate to when they were growing up. How they do this is obviously dependent on what you're likely watching, from school settings, work environments, even something a little bit more depressing like a post-apocalyptic world. I want to discuss how Iyashikei is implemented into 3 specific anime, as they each execute the themes of Iyashikei differently, and I can't think of any better way to explain this than through my own experiences, as it is easier to highlight their healing aspects with my own enjoyment. I was 12 when I first watched Mushishi, and I didn't really understand it. Due to my lack of experience with handling writing in the medium of anime itself, I couldn't exactly appreciate it. Years went by until I finally rewatched it, this time with my mother, and by this time I had grown wearier with the world. Focusing so much on my problems only did me a whole lot of bad over time, and it was only a few months into my first job that I understood this, and began to look into ways to better myself. That's when it hit me. I was seeking the same feeling I had when I was rewatching Mushishi. Mushishi approaches healing with a meditative mindset, closely akin to naturalistic and Shintoist ideals. You see a lot of this throughout the show and how it presents its settings. At first glance, the show seems like it's set in feudal Japan, but the more you watch, you begin to realize that the time and place doesn't matter, rather the immediate environment in any given episode does. This is because the show actively gets you to think about how your physical and social surroundings shape you, a simple fact of psychology, your environment. Through realizing this, you're put into a third-person perspective so you may view how your environment affects you and what you can do to help yourself. My favorite episode out of all of them is Zoku's Depths of Winter. In it, we discover Ginko, the main character, is trapped on a mountain in an endless winter, unable to leave no matter the path he took. This is because the Mountain Lord was trying to heal the mountain due to the previous season's intense monsoons. At first, Ginko attempted to hibernate his way through it, hoping that winter would pass, but when he woke up, the season still hadn't thawed. Ginko set upon himself the task to figure out what was going on with the Mountain Lord and why it was still closing the mountain off from the rest of the world. This entire episode got you to think in the same mindset as Ginko, sort of like a detective, but instead of examining a murder scene, you're inspecting your own surroundings, questioning why they are the way they are, and seeing what you can do to change that for the better of yourself and others. Conflict is one of the most important features of a narrative, if not the most. Without conflict, there is no reason to go on. When tackling the themes of Iyashikei, it is important to remember this, because without conflict, how can we enjoy what we did not earn? An example where I find little to no conflict in an Iyashikei is in Tanaka is Listless. It's a painfully boring show because nothing ever happens to Tanaka that allows him to really change from being so lethargic. He simply is the way he is without any rhyme or reason, and he faces no repercussions for it. There's no climb for any of the characters to take. They simply exist to add to the boring nature of Tanaka. On the flip side, there's Yudu Camp. I love Yudu Camp. It's one of the comfiest anime I've ever watched. A lot of people would say it's just because of the cute girls camping, but it's less about the comfy camping than it is the conflicts that arise from wanting to camp. You can't just go camping, you have to prepare. So what makes this show special is that we too get to experience that climb to what the characters wish to enjoy, whether it be schooling, traveling, or even setting up the tent. This hits close to reality where some conflicts are either unplanned or have to be dealt with before anything else. You have to go through the trouble of something so you can enjoy that payoff. This is something a lot of shows don't properly represent, and using it in this manner creates a similarity between the characters and the audience, and ultimately, being able to empathize with the girls. In Hidamari's sketch, there's a character the show often likes to focus on. Her name is Yuno. Yuno is a sweet girl and has a dream to become an artist, and you see her working towards this throughout the show. We know Yuno simply as who she is, that is short, playful, and wide-eyed, but she expresses qualities of herself that the viewer can relate to, and this is true for all the other characters. I bring up Yuno because she's the one I almost completely relate to, going so far that we even have similar dreams. It's hard for me to explain who the other girls are because they have entire personalities that I couldn't possibly sum up the same way. They're very much like real people, especially like the ones everyone should surround themselves with. Everyone in Hidamari supports each other so that each of them can reach the growth they so desire. This is what I believe Hidamari's sketch excels at more than other slice of life shows, relatable characters and interactions. I can't tell you how many times I found the conversations and dialogue between the main girls similar to ones I've had in the past. In fact, they still happen to this day. The interactions are easily what makes the show. I never get any cliched feeling from the dialogue, as though all of it is natural, which, safe to say, is exactly what a person should attempt to emulate when writing. All of this created a feeling that I could get immersed in the show and experience all of these conversations as though I were there. This is how I fell in love with Hidamari. Where other shows made trivial conversations feel, well, trivial, Hidamari uses this to great effect, creating a show we can experience similar to friendship. Iyashikei is something I have a lot of passion for, but I don't get to see it done well all too often. The 3 examples I gave for good writing in Iyashikei not only are my very favorites, but the best ones I could think up because, more or less, nothing else compares. I want to bring more light to this genre though, and to clear up constant confusion for it and slice of life. While they're very similar to one another, I would never go so far as to say they're the same. Because I believe Iyashikei has one of the most valuable expressions of personal growth I've ever laid witness to, I would love it if people could see these shows more for what they actually do really well. And that is what I leave with all of you. The growth to one day become, obtain, or understand that which is important to you.